This video is going to talk about tips for how to read SOL questions for the geometry test. The 4 tips that I have for you are to find the question word, to use the diagram, to try to disregard irrelevant information, and to make sure that you answer what the question is asking. So we're going to take a look from problems from the release 2014 and 2015 geometry SOL questions to demonstrate the things that you need to do. One thing that I found that was very interesting whenever I examined the 95 release questions on the 2014 and 2015 geometry released SOL tests is the distribution of the times these words come up in the questions. So the words which and what come up the vast majority of the time. Together they account for 89% of all the questions. Over half the questions had the word which in it. So that's the words you want to find to make sure that you answer it. These are the other words that came up in it. As you can see, everything had a command or a question with the exception of the will be blank, where you had to fill in the blank with a multiple choice answer. So one key thing when you're looking for these words, the which, the what in particular, the question words are almost always located below the diagram. So here we go right here. We have a diagram or a picture, and we find that word. The word is what. So what is the correct order of the lengths from the street from the longest to the shortest? We do not even need this information above the diagram. This happens in a lot of SOL questions. A lot of times they like to throw a lot of words up there, but if we look for the key word underneath the picture, we can get away with it a lot of times. Don't always use this because that information above might have some useful information. Another thing that I mentioned was make sure that you answer what the question is asking. With this one here, the number one mistake people make is they put things out of order. So make sure you read those words longest to shortest. It tells you how you need to answer the problem. So here's another one where we find the word underneath the diagram, which is the closest to the total length of the 6 cars. We don't need this sentence. So your step should be look for the question word and then use the diagram. Do I need any other information? No. Here's the 6 cars right here. This is going to be X, and I see that I have a right triangle. So just using those little shortcuts will probably help alleviate some stress and get you more focused on how to solve the problems. Here's another one. Which statement is true? I have all the triangles right here. I could use this information to figure out all the vertices or integers, but I should be able to figure that out just by looking at the picture. So this information right here is pretty irrelevant. I don't really need it to solve the problem. Again, the question word which comes beneath the diagram. I use the question, I use the diagram, and I'm able to solve the problem. So this is a final one that we're going to do where we have a diagram. The question word comes underneath the diagram. I don't need this because I see what D is. D is all possible values. It's told to me right here, which represents all the possible values in yards of D. So if we use that strategy, it should be able to help us solve these problems. The last thing that I had was to make sure that you're solving for what the problem is asking for. So watch for trap answers designed to fool people who don't read the problems. This is even more apparent whenever you take the SAT. So we read the problem, we find our question word, what measure of angle P could be used to prove that triangle LMN is congruent to triangle PQR. So this tells me that the triangles are isosceles, but that's already given to me through the picture. So again, this information right here doesn't help me solve the problem. But how are these trap answers? We should see that these 2 angles here are going to be congruent. 2x minus 26 is going to equal x plus 16. So we just solve for x. X minus 26 is equal to 16. We add 26, and we get x is equal to 42. So here's a trap answer. We solve for x. We should be tempted to pick 42. But what did the problem ask us to solve? What measure of angle P? Angle P is right here. So that's not the right answer. It's a trap answer. We should remember that all three of these angles together add up to 180. Since it's isosceles, the base angles need to be the same. So we plug this in, 42 plus 16, and we get 58. So y plus 58 is equal to 180. 2y plus 58 is equal to 180. We subtract 58, which gets us 122, and we divide by 2, which gets us y is equal to 61. Y is the measure of angle P, so that's why C is the correct answer. Check out the other videos that will hopefully help you master the SOL.